Gokigenyo everyone, Star the Protagonist is here. Skullgirls has gone through a bunch of controversies throughout its lifespan, and this recent situation is no different. For those of you who don't know, Hidden Variable announced that they will no longer continue the development of Skullgirls due to their dispute with Autumn Games, the publisher of Skullgirls. As of January 21st, 2025, Hidden Variable is no longer involved in the development of Skullgirls Mobile, Second Encore, or other Skullgirls IP-related efforts due to a dispute with Autumn Games, which is now the subject of litigation filed in the Los Angeles County Superior Court. In light of that, we hope you understand that beyond this statement, we will not be commenting further until this dispute is resolved. All of us at HVS are incredibly proud of the 10 plus years we've invested in Skullgirls in all of its forms, including creating and supporting Skullgirls Mobile, bringing new characters and platforms to Skullgirls Second Encore, supporting the competitive community via the Skullgirls Championship Series, and helping fans new and old fall in love with the IP through the Skullgirls webtoons and countless other partnerships. Most of all, we're grateful to have been able to celebrate and support the incomparable Skullgirls community, many of whom we've been fortunate to meet in person over the years at various events. Thank you all for everything. You deserve nothing but the best. Hidden Variable Studios. Now that's the statement on this whole situation, but to give some context to this, Hidden Variable filed a civil suit against Autumn Games for $1.2 million due to unpaid fees throughout the last 6 months of 2024 working on Skullgirls Second Encore and Skullgirls Mobile. And as you would expect, most of the community is clowning HV, while the rest are supporting them. One of them being Sonic Fox, who also ended up receiving criticism for supporting HVS. Now, I have absolutely nothing against Sonic Fox, but I don't think that was a good idea to comment under a post full of people dogging on the developer that has tainted the game's legacy for good. Plus, they have struck controversy in the past due to their inclusion in the game as an NPC in the Class Notes tutorial stage. Now, Autumn Games did come out with a statement of their own on the Skullgirls Mobile account on Twitter, and to give a too long don't read version, they're still continuing to support the game as well as adding guilds. To give my thoughts on the matter, if this ends up being true, then Autumn Games have hell to pay. You should always pay what your developers are owed, especially what they've worked on updates and DLC. I will not deny the work Hidden Variable has put into adding characters such as Annie, Umbrella, Black Dahlia, and Marie into the game, especially when it took them up to 4 years to fully complete the Season 1 pass, because all of the animations for each character are hand-drawn. However, the hate and criticism towards them is completely justified. Remember, nearly 2 years ago, they censored half of this game, removing the armbands from the Black Eagles due to quote real-world hate groups, changing the color of Philia's panties in-game while censoring them in the opening of her story mode, tampering with the opening of Big Band's story mode due to the quote stereotypes, even though that was part of his story, and to add on to it, they removed the digital art compendium from Steam accounts to remove, alter, or censor certain pieces of concept and guest art before bringing it back, which was an awful thing to do. The game was review bombed by fans on Steam, a dev was exposed for insulting their own fans. Almost every post the official Skullgirls account made had people demanding them to undo the censorship. It was a madhouse on Twitter. And if you want the full breakdown on that situation, you should definitely check out these 4 videos made by Rev Says Desu. Link to his channel will be in the top right corner. And I just want to say these changes were not made by the previous developers, but the current ones. And these new devs are extremely sensitive. Keep in mind that this isn't the first time censorship was a thing in this game, but the older devs were forced into making these changes due to unnecessary fan service they had when developing the game, copyright issues, and a fan breaking NDA. But even with these changes, Skullgirls still stayed true to its identity, a fast-paced 2D fighting game with the fan service being the major selling point. However, fast forward to 2023, it only escalated because the newer devs are too sensitive towards a few armbands and panty shots, as well as trying to appeal to the modern audience, which was a horrible idea. There are 2 things that need to be said here. Number 1, all of these characters are completely fictional, as well as the content and everything else. I do not agree with the idea of fiction being exactly the same as non-fiction. These characters are just drawings in a fictional video game. I don't understand how anyone can get worked up over an underage character that isn't even real, especially one that has to build like Philia. Plus, the fan service is nothing compared to games like Galgun and Senran Kagura. And 2, Skullgirls was never meant to be mainstream. It was a niche fighting game with the fan service being the major selling point. Even when the game was featured in EVO's 2022's lineup with games like Dragon Ball FighterZ, Street Fighter V, and Tekken 7, there were no issues with the game. But now, a year after that, they decided to self-censor the game to again appeal to a modern audience. Longtime Skullgirls fans have paid and supported both the game and the art book, only for both to be altered and censored to the ground. A major disgrace to the true fans. And no amount of updates and content would be enough to patch the stab wound on the game's back. And now fast forward to the present, now we're seeing Hidden Variable suing Autumn Games for $1.2 million. As the old saying goes, you reap what you sow. Like I said before, if this is 100% true, Autumn Games should have paid their respective devs for the work they put in. But this is just straight up karma towards the ones who not only ruined the game with this bullshit self-censorship, but also ruined the life of Mike Zymon, aka Mike Z. If you want to know the full story behind that, check out these two videos done by Technicals. He did an amazing job detailing the full story behind that whole situation. But to give a small summary, Mike Z was hit with false allegations involving SH and predatory behavior. Employees of Lab Zero Games insisted that Mike Z should step down from his position. He refused and ended up firing the rest of the employees, as some of them were left. All the former employees joined together to create Future Club to continue the development of Skullgirls alongside Hidden Variable, who ended up snatching the IP from Mike Z. And to this day, the lawsuit between him and two of the former employees is still ongoing. Again, I highly recommend watching both of Technical's videos on the whole situation. Link to his channel will be in the top right corner. And he is planning on doing an update on that pretty soon. So all the more reasons to watch those videos before that happen. You're probably wondering why I haven't continued the story mode of Skullgirls. Two very obvious reasons behind that. Firstly, last year I announced that I'm quitting the Let's Play format, since not only that format is dead, but also the extremely low views on most of the videos. Like, what is even the point of continuing a Let's Play if no one is there to watch? Secondly, the unnecessary censorship. You all know my stance on this. I absolutely hate censorship unless it's a game like Fortnite that's marketed towards kids and teenagers. But for niche games to be censored and self-censored for the sake of appealing towards a modern audience is the absolute worst thing to do, even if it's just a small ounce of it. And Skullgirls unfortunately fell into that category. There are games like 7 Kagura Burst Renewal that were also affected, but the only thing changed was the removal of Intimacy Mode for the PS4 version. Everything else remained intact. But as for Skullgirls, Hidden Variable ruined not only the game, but also its legacy and relevancy. It is genuinely surprising that a game that was released in 2012 is still supported and talked about 13 years later. It's gone through a lot through that time, from layoffs of Reverge Labs to reforming as Lab Zero Games, having to deal with Konami's bullshit when they requested to have the game removed from gaming platforms, re-releasing the game as Skullgirls Encore, the ridiculous allegations towards Mike Z, the censorship update, and now this ongoing lawsuit between Hidden Variable and Autumn Games. Skullgirls couldn't catch a break. Even with the successful crowdfunding and EVO support, it still couldn't avoid a decade's worth of controversies, which is very sad. And if the censorship update wouldn't have happened, the game would still have a sizable amount of players continuing to support the game. I love Skullgirls, and I put a lot of time into this game. I bought both the Switch and PS4 versions for goodness sake, and I had a lot of fun playing the game, whether it be going through the story mode or destroying my cousins in local multiplayer. I still love playing this game, but I can never go back to it again. It is now a shell of its former self, and it will never be the same. Sure, it still gets support from dedicated pro players, as well as Combo Breaker, but it will never reach mainstream popularity ever again. And even if Hidden Variable wins against Autumn Games, the damage is already done. Nobody is checking for this game anymore, and both Autumn Games and Hidden Variable are getting what they deserve. Yet another solid fighting game ruined due to mismanagement and disconnection between the fan base and devs. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this, seeing that you all voted for this video, which I highly appreciate. What do you think about this? Do you still play Skullgirls to this day? What were your reactions to the censorship of the game? And how do you feel about this ongoing lawsuit? I would like to know in the comments down below. But until then, this is the Protagonist signing out. As always, Goki Genyo, and have a star-tastic day, everyone. If you enjoyed today's video, then be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn those notifications on to join the Star Nation. Also, be sure to follow my Twitter, and while you're at it, check out my previous video. Now,